Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another craptastic episode of the Marlin Music Show. I am David. Hope all of y'all are doing well out there in YouTube land today, no matter what you're doing and where you are. And so today I'm going to stick with this little Kiss theme I've had going here. It seems to be getting a lot of attention, and I thank all of you for tuning into those videos and commenting. Good or bad, indifferent, doesn't matter. I appreciate all feedback and all comments. And I always look forward to those from y'all and interacting with you guys. So I guess I'm going to keep this Kiss train rolling as long as it stays away from the station. Once it pulls in, I guess you guys will let me know, and we'll move on from there. So real quick, I want to give a shout out to my barber slash hairstylist, also known as my wife, for getting all this clean today and making it a little bit easier for y'all to put up with this face. I know it's tough, but we try to do what we can, okay? So today, what we're going to do is, October is a relatively big month for Kiss releases. They, over the course of their career, have released 6 studio albums in the month of October. Hotter Than Hell, Creatures of the Night, Hot in the Shade, Carnival of Souls, Sonic Boom, and Monster. And so what I'm going to do today is take half of those, the first 3, Sonic Boom, the first 3 in terms of the day of the month they were released, Sonic Boom, Monster, and Hot in the Shade, and do a semi-review slash ranking, you know, nothing kind of too formal. I just want to put some things out there, get you guys feedback on things, some conversations going, and see what happens, okay? All right, let's get started.
He's Marler, and this is his music show.
Alright, so what we're going to start off with, the first one in terms of order of day of the month release, not year, but day of the month here, is Sonic Boom. So this album was it's hard to call it a follow-up really, but it was the follow-up to Psycho Circus. A little bit over 11 years between the 2 releases. Up until now, the longest they'd ever gone without releasing a studio album. This is one that when it came out, I was optimistically excited about it. It's one of those that, you know, the first album from this version of the band, a version of the band that had been playing together up to this point for about 5 years. So they had a lot of time under their belt. You know, it had become, in my opinion, pretty tight playing the old stuff. That's just my opinion. So this album, I was very anxious to hear, and you know, they released the first single, Modern Day Delilah, a few weeks ahead of the release of the album, and that is a song that I thought was pretty good. Listening to it the first couple times, it had kind of a mix between a 70s, 80s type feel. It was really kind of hard to put your finger on at the time, but it was I thought a very good song, and to this day still do. And it's probably, depending upon what you think of a few others I'm going to mention, probably the best song on the album. First, let me apologize, guys, if I sniffle and cough a lot during this. I totally apologize. I've been fighting a hell of a cold over the past week and a half. So if that comes in a little bit, I'll apologize. I'll try to cut what I can. I don't like to cut a whole lot because I like this to be as raw as possible. So anyway, I just want to get that out of the way. So this album, Sonic Boom. So Modern Day Delilah, very good song. I thought right off the rip it was going to be a good song, and so I'm sitting there thinking, all right, is it going to be one of those situations they released the best song on the album already, or is this going to be a maybe precursor for the rest of the album? And as I found out as I listened to this album 2 or 3 times, no, not a precursor. this is arguably one of their worst albums. And you know, a lot of that I think is of the fact that it's this version of the band. This version of the band is very good at playing the old stuff, pretty spot on, but not so good as a cohesive group in writing songs, I don't think. Even though I know Paul and Gene write majority, I'm not a believer that these four guys together can create a great album, because they did too, and neither were great in my opinion. You know, this song has a few other saving points. I think Say Yeah is a really good song. They've been doing that on a regular basis here on this End of the Road tour. I love All for the Glory. I think that is a very good song on this album. Eric, and I think Eric has a very, not a great singing voice, but it's a listenable singing voice, and does a very good job. I'm an Animal is the one Gene song on this that is even really decent to me. I like it pretty good. I actually saw them do that song on the second leg of the Sonic Boom tour. It's a pretty good song. Tommy's little contribution when lightning strikes, it's okay. It all goes with him trying to do the spaceman thing and all that, so it's kind of irritating in that way. You get past those, and quite honestly for me, the rest of this album is just crap. It's just crap. And I don't listen to it very often. Those certain 4 or 5 songs I just mentioned I'll listen to occasionally, but past that, this album doesn't do much for me. So it's towards the bottom. And I'm not really going to rank these in terms of like the best of the month that they released or whatever, and I'm not really trying to do a ranking here, just kind of giving a small review. And but I will say that this album for me is well in their bottom half of albums they've ever released. And I'm going to have a video coming out sometime soon, hopefully, where I'm going to give you my top 10 Kiss albums of all time. I will assure you, this one will not be in there. So anyway, so this will be the last you have to hear about this album. Anyway, Sonic Boom came out October 6th, 2009. It is what it is, guys. It is what it is. All right, then moving on to the next one that was released 3 years and 3 days later. And that was the second and last album that this lineup has done, and also happens to be the last album that the band has done, and that is Monster. Once again, they released the first single, Hell or Hallelujah. I thought at the time it was a pretty solid song, and I still think it's a fairly solid song. They don't do it anymore. I'm not sure they've even really done it too much since that tour. Maybe on a Kiss cruise or something, but past that they really haven't. They're not doing it on this current End of the Road thing. Here again, it's a pretty good song. You get past that, I like It's a Long Way Down. I think that's a pretty solid song, kind of Zeppelin-ish in a way with the opening. I like Out of This World. I think Tommy did a really good job on that. It's a really catchy tune. The only problem is, once again, it's him being Ace, or trying to be the spaceman. And so it kind of puts a bad taste in your mouth as far as that goes. I think Gene's best song on it is Wall of Sound. I really like that song a lot. I think it's got a cool opening, a cool groove to it. To me, a lot of the songs on this that are Paul's are pretty weak. Freak, Back to the Stone Age, not such great songs. Shout Mercy. My least favorite song by far, and I think it's maybe one of the cheesiest songs they've ever done, and it's Eric's contribution to this, is All for the Love of Rock and Roll. It has that, and look, I get it. Past couple videos, people think I've been bashing Peter or whatever, and it is what it is. I gave my opinion about Peter as a drummer and his contribution to the band. This song reminds me of something really cheesy that Peter might have put out on his solo record. It's almost like a copycat song in a lot of ways, and it's just it gives me the heebie-jeebies almost to listen to it. It's just not a great song at all. And then Last Chance, Take Me Down Below. Those are okay. There's just not a lot of great stuff on this album. The Devil Is Me from Gene, it's an okay song. This is not some of their greatest work, guys. Let's just be honest, which is why they haven't done a lot of this in concert over the years. And I've always said, out of these two albums, Sonic Boom and Monster, if you take the best songs off of these two albums, you might come up with a decent album, maybe, that might fit somewhere in the middle of their catalog in terms of bad versus good or whatever. I don't know. But these were just not good albums. And so for me, once again, this is another one. To me, it's in their bottom half. And when I do that aforementioned video about my favorite 10 Kiss albums, this will not be on there as well. So these two, nice try, guys, but nothing. So anyway, so that moves us on to the last of these first three I'm going to do. The other three, which were Hotter Than Hell, Creatures of the Night, and Carnival of Souls, I'm going to do in my next video more than likely. But the last I'm going to touch on today is Hot in the Shade. This is an interesting album, to say the least. So this album came out in late '89. I believe I was a junior in high school when this album came out. I'd only seen Kiss a couple times at that time. I saw them on the Crazy Nights tour and the Asylum tour. And they had gotten kind of poppy, especially on Crazy Nights. And didn't really know what to expect from this album, because they'd really kind of changed their sound a little bit over the past several. And, kind of figured out what was going to happen here. And it did. Some of the stuff on here is a little more bluesy. Rise to It. Got a little blues feel to it. I love, and I've always said, I thought even though a lot of the songs on this album are horrible, I think one problem with this album, it's got like 15 songs. The only Kiss album to have that many songs. It had way too many songs. But even though I think a lot of the songs are crappy on here, I think a lot of Bruce's guitar playing was pretty good. And I think this is where you really started to see Bruce starting to evolve a little bit in his guitar playing and becoming a little more steady, not trying to be so flashy, and a little more emotion in his playing. I think Rise to It's an example of that. The first single, Hide Your Heart, which, was co-written by like 20 people and remade by like 30 or whatever. It's been around so much, it was passed around like a joint for a while, whatever. Okay song, thankfully on the tour that they did for this album, which I was fortunate enough to see, they didn't do a lot of songs off this album. I think they did Hide Your Heart, I think they did Rise to It, and Forever. They kind of kept it to a minimum, thank goodness. Because, I think Gene's best song on here is Betrayed. That's a really good song. And then, Forever is a decent ballad. Can do With or Without It. I don't think it even touches Every Time I Look at You as far as a ballad goes, or I Still Love You. But it's an okay song. And then you get past that, and literally there's not much worth listening to on this album. The only track that's really pretty much interesting after that for me, Boomerang, the very last song of Gene's, is a pretty good song. And Little Caesar, I think is pretty good, mainly because, and this is sentimental for me, because of Eric Carr. It was one of the only things that ever got put out on a Kiss album, other than him redoing Beth on Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits, that was put on a Kiss album of his vocals. And I think he did a very good job. It's a pretty good song. But past that, this album is just not there at all. It goes right down there with Monster and Sonic Boom in terms of level of, technicality's got nothing to do with it, or musical. It's just musical taste for me, but it's just right towards the bottom. The one saving grace, though, for this period, I won't say the album, but for the period, is they, on this tour, they did two things. They started playing a 20-song set list again. Actually, I think they did like 21, 22 a night. And they started implementing more and more old stuff into their set list from the 70s. You know, that I said I'd seen them twice before. I saw them on this Hot in the Shade tour. And that night they did many songs I'd never heard them do before. And I was just elated. It was like a kid in a candy store. They did God of Thunder. They did I Want You. They did Deuce. I'd never heard them do Deuce. They did Strutter. They did Dr. Love, Let Me Go Rock and Roll. It was fantastic. Love that tour. And I've always said for the times that I saw Kiss, up until then, it was the best set list I'd ever seen them do. And honestly, as many times I've seen them since, it might be right up there with the best set list I've ever seen them do. It was very good for the time of the band. And it was very one of those, I'd been waiting to hear a lot of those songs for a long time. And fortunately, as I said, they did not do a lot of songs off this Hot in the Shade album because it was just one of their lowest points, unfortunately. But they got it back together with Revenge, and the rest we all know about. We'll be talking about that at some point, I'm sure, too. So anyway, my voice is about to give out on me here, so I'm going to wrap this up. I just wanted to give you guys my take on those three. Like I said, my next video will, in probably a week or so, it's going to be pushing towards the end of October. We're going to try to get in by the end of October is going to be the other three that they released in October, and give you my thoughts on those. So I look forward to you guys commenting on this video. Let me know what you think. But before you do that, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you can get notifications when new content is released. I look forward to your comments and having some conversations back and forth with you guys. And so until the next video, I will sign off as I always do by saying, be good to each other, be good to yourselves, and life will be good to you. Peace.